YouTube, Bozic, going the Goat House is back. Today I got my running back rankings for the 2022 NFL Draft. Yesterday we did quarterback rankings, so we're just starting our position rankings here. We're going to get through every position group. We'll have a big board. We'll have all kinds of mock drafts still, more draft content. We got member mocks going on. You see underneath me, walkthemock.com. We'll have more of those with you guys. Fan voted mock on Twitter. A lot of updates on Twitter. We live during day 1 of the NFL Draft right here on YouTube, day 2 and 3 on Twitter. So, again, check that out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Running backs, pretty deep class here this year. I got a bunch of them really, really close and great. It's tough to split them up in rankings, but we're going to break it down. Here's our Twitter. Again, fan voted mock draft going on. We're down to about pick 17 or so. But on to first the superlatives for the running back group. Best day 1 impact, I think it would be Breece Hall. Pro-ready back. I think he'd make an impact as an every down back right away. We'll break him down early on in this video, of course, with the rankings. Most upside, I say Kenneth Walker. It kind of was solid at Wake Forest, but really broke out this year. Really feels like he's getting started. Not a ton of carries in his career, which is kind of shows some upside. Not going to develop wear early on, anything like that. That build of his with the speed, the athleticism combo, cutting ability, kind of has the traits, kind of putting it all together. Feels like he has the most upside. Could have put a number of guys here. Could have put James Cook. Could have went with Rachaad White. Guys like that. There's quite a few of them. Best vision, I'm going to go Breece Hall again. There really isn't one that really stands out way more than the rest, but I'm going to go Breece Hall in that category. Best kind of quickness and speed. I kind of look for the backs that kind of put that together. Some guys are so quick getting to the hole. Do they have the long speed? Some guys have the long speed, but are they quick getting to the hole? I think you combine those things. I like Ty Chandler from North Carolina. Very quick getting through the hole, and he has that home run speed. That 4.3 speed at the combine matches the tape. Most physical. This is a tough one to pick one. I'm going to go Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama, though, but you could have put Kenneth Walker here. You could go Dameon Pierce. You could go Ty Davis Price from LSU. You could go, a number of guys. Tyler Allgerier from BYU. There's a number of guys you can put here. I'm going to go Brian Robinson, though. That Cincinnati game was something. He loves to run people over. He's smart about it, though. You see the stiff arm he's got. He's always ending up on, falling over, not backwards. So I'm going to go with him as most physical. That's a lot of physical backs in this class, though. Most elusive, I'm going to go Kyren Williams. He's missing a lot of other things maybe. Maybe he didn't test too well, but he's so slippery. When people finally get their hands on him because he's so quick and shifty, and avoids people very well. When they finally get their arms around him, they slip right off him. So I'm going to go Williams for most elusive. Best receiver, going to go James Cook. Could go Rachaad White. Could go Kyren Williams. I'm going to go James Cook there, though. You can line him up, from the backfield, the slot, the outside. Twitchy, quick-footed, with the routes, obviously. So most underrated, Ty Davis Price from LSU. No one's talking about him. No one. I haven't really seen anybody talk about him. You could go a number of guys, the underrated category. Ty Chandler, probably another one there. Maybe Brian Robinson, kind of a better underrated guy there. And sleeper Keontae Ingram from USC. No one really talking about him. Didn't work out at Texas, transferred to USC, so I think that didn't get a whole lot of carries, I guess, there, but enough to do some damage. I think he's pretty underrated. I think people kind of just put him at the bottom of their rankings wrongfully there. But on to my rankings. Number 1, we're going to go with Breece Hall. Yeah, I think I tweeted in February that, I kind of started watching who was supposed to be the top running backs, and I've kind of decided then that Breece Hall running backs are pretty easy to figure out, how good they are, really. Ranking, I guess, the tough part. Not really the top, but when you have a bunch of guys close in grade. But Breece Hall, yeah, I think he's definitely the most complete back in the class. You're talking about vision, talking about power, speed, athleticism, what you can do after the hole. Can you make people miss? Can he catch the ball? Some spectacular catches as well. Catch the ball. I think he's pretty underrated kind of as a pass catcher. But yeah, I like the power athleticism combo. 1 second he's making people miss with his athleticism or running them over with his, the strength that he has. Again, I think I talked about he has great vision, very underrated. Has a home run ability. See all the long runs he has. Very productive at Iowa State. Very, very productive career. But yeah, on top of that production, he's got a ton of carries in his collegiate career at 718, and that, sometimes those guys that have had that many carries they develop wear early on in their NFL careers. That's a tough part. I think most complete back, to me, it's pretty clear when you look at the tape that Breece Hall is the best. Not that he's like far and away better than some of these other guys or number two. I think the top two are kind of easily in the category of their own, but as every down backs. But it's just with the traits, and what he presents on tape, I think it was kind of clear that he was number one. But then you factor in, how long will he be the best running back from this class? How long will he be a starting running back? Because he had 700. He doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon, but you do worry about that a little bit. Could improve as a blocker. This running back group is weird. There's either guys that they definitely need to improve as a blocker, and there's guys that are surprisingly very good at blocking. It's very interesting. But Breece Hall, number one from Iowa State. Round 2 grade, I'm kind of borderline there because the talent – the talent says he can be a starting every down running back, and it could be a round 1 guy because the impact he can make. But again, could he develop wear early on? And maybe that's why some teams don't extend running backs. They just kind of go with them for the 4 years. So maybe that's the plan anyways, but then do you value him in round 1? It's pretty close there. He's got round 1 talent in him, but again, where do you value the running backs? Could that wear develop? That's kind of the questions there. Kenny Walker will be number 2 for me and around that same range. I think Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker kind of in the same category at the top. I think pretty much everyone should have them at the top 1, 2. But he has those traits. I mean, you look at the combination, similar to Breece Hall, but the combination of power. I mean, a built dude, obviously, just raw power and athleticism, and the cutting ability is pretty impressive for a guy that wide, that thick. So he has those traits, so I think he doesn't have there's no reason for him to develop wear anytime soon. So he has that ability to be a very good RB1 for a long, long time. So some teams may prefer that over maybe Breece Hall, who looks a little bit better right now. But the cutting ability, very impressive. He had a run against Miami that was really showcased that several runs really. But again, the power speed combo is pretty rare. I think Breece Hall has a bit of it too. But you look at Kenneth Walker, how built he is. He's just a very physical runner. See him lower his shoulder, inside runs, and just plow people over at times. So it's pretty damn impressive. Why pass on him? I've noticed some times, and I think people maybe don't notice this. It could go unnoticed. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but I think it could go unnoticed because most of these runs end up being positive, but there'll be times where he'll bounce things outside. Like the run should be inside. There is somewhat of a hole there. Most of the time he hits the hole fine, but then he'll bounce it out. A lot of time I noticed Michigan State had some wide open lanes on the outside, so maybe he kind of got used to that. And I'm going to bounce this out, and then some guys will get back there for a negative to force a negative yard play, but then Walker just run past him or most time slip that arm tackle. In the NFL, I think if he mistakenly bounces those runs out, I think bad things will happen there. But I do think it was because what was present, what was going on Saturdays, there was some wide open lanes out there. So maybe that's why he was kind of insisting on bouncing some, not all, not close to all outside. Lacking involvement in the passing game. I think he's got some upside there, though. It's just a matter of using him. Why weren't they using him? Wake Forest didn't give him a lot of production, but they would kind of deploy him a little bit more as a pass catcher. So it looks like, he can run to the right spots, get open. So we'll see if it's just a matter of getting him more involved. Could improve as a blocker. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, perfect world. You wish they could block. They're built like they could block, but there's definitely much better blockers in the class. Number 3, I'm going to go James Cook from Georgia. 5'11", you think he'd be a little shorter than that, but he's under 200 pounds. But I think he's getting there. Another round 2, kind of round 2, round 3, but just the rare ability to catch the ball out of the backfield from the slot, from outside with the route running ability. It's a mismatch problem. Factoring that in, on top of, I think he's getting better, stronger as a runner. When we first saw him at Georgia, it's like, all right, this is Dalvin Cook's brother. Man, he's nothing like his brother. Dalvin had a lot more power, more of a physical runner. He's going to be nothing like him. And then it's take another year, and it's like, all right, okay. And then now this year, he's added some good size, matured a bit as a runner, more physical. So maybe he's getting there. Maybe he has that upside where he'll get there, kind of more like the Dalvin Cook strength, build, power. Not that he's really not that far away because it's not like Dalvin Cook's like crazy power, but But James Cook is actually a better, and Dalvin Cook's all right as a pass catcher, but James Cook's actually better in that category. Excellent hands. Again, great routes from any spot. Can kind of create mismatch problems. He has great vision, too. Finds the hole, hits it very fast. Has that one cut and home run, ability to him. So I love that about him. Unlikely to handle a full load of carries, especially early on. Like if Cook had more of a build and power to him, Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall, I mean, hands down, James Cook would be the best running back in the class, hands down. So if he gets to that point, it's going to be scary. So maybe lacking that every down running back size for now. So maybe teams be turned off about that unless they're definitely looking for that receiving option. Isn't going to be a big-time tackle breaker, but for a guy under 200, I think he does a pretty damn good job, actually. So I like Cook. I like his upside as a runner. He's already polished as a pass catcher, and again, the mismatch things he can create. Number 4, Brian Robinson Jr. I somehow he became underrated. We're always rightfully hyping up Alabama running backs because they're always very good, and everyone talks about them. And this year, we are wrongfully not hyping the Alabama running back up. I'm trying to figure out why. I think he's a top 5 back. Obviously, I'm at number 4. I think he's a hell of a back. I guess wasn't that big name out of high school like the rest of them, like the Derrick Henrys, Najee Harris. Maybe that's why. But good size to him, 6'1", 225. There's not too many backs in this class that have the prototypical size once we get after the first 2. They're all kind of on the lighter side, surprisingly. It's like less and less at the proper weight, around 225. And when we got one right here, I think he's arguably the most physical back. You see him run people, again, the Cincinnati game, playoff game. Ridiculous. Maybe the best tape for a running back this year, single tape I'm talking about. But, if he's got to get that extra yard or extra 2 yards, he's going to get it. He's going to fight for it. He's going to run you over, stiff arm you out of the way, make you miss with inside the hole, a tight gap. A great balance, of course. He's not going down too easy. Always falls forward. There's a lot of guys that they deliver a pretty good shot, but sometimes they go back. He's always falling forward, making the defender hit the ground first. The first man rarely brings him down. He wants to block. Obviously, he's looking. He makes the right read on who to block. He's a solid blocker and very underrated pass catcher as well. He's got good production. Catching the ball. Pro-style runs here, then leaking out of the backfield, catch the ball very well. I like Brian Robinson a lot. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't really looked too much, but I haven't seen anybody talk about him as a top 5 running back. He'll have eye-popping runs where he'll just truck a guy, run somebody else over, surprisingly get the first down. Like eye-popping runs, get you out of your seat, but doesn't really have those home run, runs where he gets real deep down there. He's outrunning everyone, so I guess it's lacking those. Maybe that's why people don't really get excited, I guess, about him in some way. Definitely on the older side. I think he's 23. Some of these backs are 20, 21. So he's probably on the older side here. He is. Doesn't have crazy burst. He's not really lacking it, but doesn't have that great burst that you look for a top-tier running back. But I like Brian Robinson. I think he'd be able to break some tackles in the NFL. He understands how to find the hole, hit it, understands how to fight for yards in smart ways. He's got some, he's not super speed. He's got some good speed for the size and physicality. Can catch the ball, can block. I'm trying to figure out why more people aren't talking about Brian Robinson Jr. here. I think probably definitely a better runner right now than a guy like James Cook. James Cook's upside and freaky pass catching ability, I put him at 3, and I think he has the upside of being the runner close to Dalvin Cook, so I put him at 3. Number 5, another upside guy. I'm gonna go Rachaad White. I'm going to go Rachaad White here. He looks taller than 6 foot. 6 foot's pretty tall for a running back, but he looks longer than that, which I guess is a good thing because you don't want your running backs too tall, but the way he plays, the way he moves, looks kind of – he's not really running super high, so it's something like that. So I think it's a good thing. One of the top pass-catching backs, I talk about James Cook. I could talk about Rachaad White right there with him as a pass catcher. He almost looks like a receiver when you line him out there. Really, really, really good body control. I say Cook – maybe has the crisper routes slightly, the better hands maybe. But White got some receiver body control, attacking the ball at its highest point, those types of things, which I really like. Very productive as a runner, but as a pass catcher as well. But yeah, can run those routes from just like Cook, from the backfield to slot, the outside, put him like a receiver. He's pretty explosive and elusive too around the line of scrimmage and after it as well. See him hurdle guys a bit. He doesn't really make people miss like crazy kind of lateral movement wise. But there's some of that and there's some power, and then he can hurdle you. So the combination is pretty impressive. I liked what we saw in the Senior Bowl game as well. Sometimes he's a little too patient. It's most of the time after the hole, kind of getting downfield, kind of letting things develop. All right, where am I going to go next? And he kind of won't run full speed, and I don't love that. I wish you would just go for that home run. You got to the point you got to because you did things right. You passed the line of scrimmage. You're in the open field. Get going. All right, So I wish he would use more of his full speed sometimes and could improve as a pass blocker, which is a flaw for some of these guys. But yeah, in terms of just pure running ability. Is he 5? It's kind of like James Cook. Is he 3? Is White 5? Maybe not. Maybe not. But he has some good running ability. He's got some upside because we haven't seen a whole lot of him yet. Remember, he was a community college transfer. Got some easy work in there for him, and then just kind of getting going, it feels like. So some upside there. But it's such a good pass catcher. And a lot of these backs, a lot of teams in the NFL, that kind of played a part in my ranking system as well. That a lot of teams in the NFL are kind of set with running backs. They're not looking for your normal, typical back. We got those guys. There's enough of them in the league. There's some of them in free agency, right? Kind of go get those unique guys that can catch the ball and run the ball. So that would be reasons why a guy like this makes it in my top 5. I think the next group of guys are so damn tight in grade. It's unbelievable. Like, how do I rank these guys? They have different strengths and flaws. But this is the highest that you will see Ty Chandler ranked, I would assume. I'm a big Ty Chandler guy. I'm not looking at everyone's rankings here, but maybe eventually. But the ones that I've seen Ty Chandler way down there. It was surprising to me. I'm a big Ty Chandler fan. He's got that vision. He's got the quickness so he could see the hole. That's the first thing I look for. Can you see the hole? Can you hit the hole? How fast can you do those things? Ty Chandler does a good thing on that. And then he has that crazy speed, that home run speed. The cutting ability is unbelievable as well. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Yeah, not a great inside runner. I guess that's why people have him low. I don't think a team's going to draft him and then just use him on a bunch of inside runs. We're going to use him outside, and we're going to throw him the ball a bit. So maybe that's why people are ranking him lower, because we won't see a whole bunch of them. So the chances of him being the 6th best back early on, maybe not high, but he's got big playability. He's got a lot of it too. On the older side, kind of with Brian Robinson, I think they're 23. There's some guys that are in their 20, 21. So sure, that could be a problem. Yeah, not really a pro-style offense in North Carolina, just a lot of RPO, get him outside, but man, he's got some good footwork, some real good speed. I really enjoyed watching Ty Chandler. He's got to get you out of your seat. Wow. And then another underrated guy that this is probably the highest that you may see him ranked is Ty Davis Price from LSU. Super physical. Right there at the top of this group with the physicality of the backs, breaking tackles, the power, and he has speed too. The power and speed combo is very rare. It's kind of like another Kenny Walker down here at ranking him at 7. Hasn't shown much as a pass catcher. It's a lot like Kenny Walker. This is kind of your mid-round Kenny Walker here, where it's just I think he has upside as a pass catcher, but it's kind of it's assumption. We haven't seen much of it. And he doesn't really have. We haven't seen much of kind of the wiggle, the lateral movements from Ty Davis Price here, so we'd like to see more of that. But I like him inside the tackles. I mean, he can run outside the tackles as well. He's going to break some tackles. He gets going too. He gets that speed going too. I like him. It just kind of feels like he has a shot to be an every down back. That's a tough part because Chandler doesn't, maybe because he can't really do the inside runs. Maybe he's not an every down back, but he's so explosive, so fun to watch. Tyler Allgerier from BYU. Another physical runner, very good vision. He can run outside for a guy, that's more built, not speed, quickness. He's quicker, more quick than fast. He can catch too. Will run people over. Very, 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 very productive. Outside zone kind of guy, which teams are kind of gearing towards a bit. Some teams trying to bring that power runs, man runs back. Doesn't have a ton of burst or speed. So he could get caught from behind. If he had a little bit more burst, it'd just shoot him up big time. Well inside the top 5. Dameon Pierce, extremely tough runner, run people over, one of those top-tier tough runners in this class. Underrated receiver, looks like he can run routes, but physical. I mean, nobody can – I always thought this when – if you ask that elite Georgia defense, those players that are about to get drafted super high in the NFL draft, maybe the best defense of all time, nobody ran well against them. But if you asked them, like, who was the best player in the running game you played against, I bet you they would say Dameon Pierce. You watch that tape against Georgia. He only had 9 carries or so. I bet you they felt every single one of those. So tough dude. I want to put him even higher, but just why wasn't he used a ton? Rarely got over, I forget the number, like 23 snaps, rarely got over that, or he never got over that in a single game, which is concerning a little bit. Doesn't have a ton of speed, not really lacking it. So it's like one of those guys that you just want to like a lot more. Like, he definitely feel like he's going to be better in the NFL. He just needs more reps. What's the reason he wasn't used a bunch more? And Isaiah Spiller, if I would have said that I'm going to rank Isaiah Spiller 10th, about 2 months ago, maybe more than that, 3 months ago during the season, I'm like, there's no shot. Like, he's a top tier back, and I do like Spiller at the same time. Like, a lot of these, like I said, 6 through 12 or 13 or so, they're so close in grade. Like, the guy from 6, the guy ranked 6, and the guy ranked 12th. There is this much splitting them up, even though 6 and 12 sounds like a pretty good distance. But Spiller, the more I watch him, the more I like him as much. He's got solid vision. He's got some wiggle, some good footwork. I mean, the topper, though, and why it's like hard to push him down in your rankings is he is so damn productive in the SEC. I mean, it's just, it doesn't happen by mistakes. That's a tough part. He was so good in the SEC. He's got some really good moments. Runs pretty high. Doesn't have that burst, especially in the open field. He doesn't really make people miss as much as for some reason I thought he did. It's just I don't see a lot of juice there. He's got some big-time plays, especially playing against the best like Alabama. I just don't see as much to his game as some of these other guys when it comes to upside. So really tough. Another guy kind of in the same category, I thought I would rank Kyren Williams a bit higher. I really do. That 40 at the Combine, the Pro Day really hurt him. He plays faster than that, and that's what should matter. But then again, I kind of think about that kind of goes into my rankings. Like, what are other teams thinking here? We ran that, 4.6s, 4.7s. They probably won't value him as much. They're not going to use him a ton. They'll bring him in for certain plays. So it's hard to rank him high. And if I felt confident that the teams would view him as used, getting him high snap counts, I'd feel pretty good because he's very good on the football field, very elusive, slippery. The cuts are ridiculous, very clean route runner, played some receiver at high school. I love that. He can block. All these guys that can't block. And on the smaller side, Kyren Williams, could really block, but on the smaller side, really bad testing numbers that kind of push him down. Very fun to watch, though. I thought he'd be a top 5 back, but I'm just starting to think the main reason guys like 6 through 12 around that range, they're so damn tight in grade. It's tough to rank them up, split them apart in rankings. Just me thinking an NFL team's not going to draft a guy like Williams super high and use him on every down or even, majority of downs. That's kind of what separated it, Pierre Strong Jr., who, from South Dakota State, home run speed, super fast. Home run speed, once he gets, hits that lane, he goes. Super productive, solid pass catcher at the same time. It's like there's some wild plays in there. Runs pretty high. Won't be a big-time tackle breaker, obviously. I wish Pierre Strong played for a solid team, played better competition. I wish that the most out of anything in this draft class because played weaker competition. There's just so many moments where it's just wide open holes, and it's just the best running backs in those situations are just the fastest, and he's the fastest in the. I'd argue Ty Chandler, but he's the fastest in the class right there with him. So it's just so tough to judge. There's a lot to wow about, right? Zamir White at 13. I know a lot of people are ranking Zamir White, somewhat high right now. Physical runner. He's pretty impressive after the line of scrimmage. After he gets going, makes people miss faster than you think and run people over. I think that's why people are ranking him high. For me, I've had some pretty good success with running backs over the past. And what I do is the first thing I look at, the most important is vision. Well, can you see the hole and can you hit the hole in a timely manner? And too many moments where I don't love that from Zamir White. I a little inconsistent with his vision. Like the hole's right there. It's not gaping, but it's there. Doesn't really see it. Kind of bounce around, hesitating a little bit. And then, sometimes it works out still because he's playing college football. It won't work in the NFL. And then once you get by the line of scrimmage, he does some impressive things, better than ranked 13. But I just don't love what I see before the line of scrimmage right now. But some impressive things still. Tyler Beatty from Missouri. He's kind of on the smaller side, kind of another Kyren Williams type. Tough dude to try to run people over. Will do it sometimes where he'll kind of get blown backwards, though. Really good receiving option. Really good running outside. This guy's a slip screen beast. I think the NFL teams that want to run a lot of slip screens, you bring in Tyler Beatty, you get him the slip screens. He's pretty damn good at them. So if he lands with the right team, he's going to look real good, especially on those slip screens. Does it get obvious at that point, though? It definitely won't be an every down back. Maybe the sleeper of the group, Keontae Ingram from USC. I'm not a big comparison guy, and if you guys have been watching me listening to me for a long time, you probably know that. There's other people that have comparisons for every guy. I hate that. That's just me, though. But when I watch Ingram, I see Melvin Gordon, maybe a poor man's, because if he was Melvin Gordon, he'd be drafted a lot earlier. But I really see Melvin Gordon, the way he moves, mainly the way he moves like laterally, the wiggle. He has that wiggle to him, Got pretty good vision at the same time. I like Ingram. Nobody talking about him at all. Underrated as a pass catcher. Doesn't have a ton of burst. You wish you kind of just, come on, go, get going. Sometimes definitely on the underrated side. USC didn't use him as much as they should have probably. They used him plenty, though, but they probably could have used him more like some of these other top guys. He was at Texas originally, and they have a future possible star NFL running back in Robinson there, so it made sense why, if Ingram was the starter for Texas, he probably would be ridiculously productive. He'd probably be talked about a bit more because Texas likes to pound the football. If Robinson didn't exist, he'd give the ball to Ingram that many times. So I think it's just that those things probably caused him to be underrated a bit. So I ranked 15 here. I'm definitely other running backs that are definitely worth the draft pick. I'll have a spreadsheet on rankings. You're going to follow our Twitter for that. That'll come out. I always keep it handy for everyone so they can keep handy during the draft. But there's other good backs. Abram Smith from Baylor, Kennedy Brooks from Oklahoma. There's quite a few other backs that'll definitely be drafted here. This is my rankings for right now. And it's just based off the traits that I value the most. And we've done a pretty good job with the running backs over the past. But the rankings was tough. The rankings was tough for this one because, again, the guys ranked like 6 through 12 range, 6 through 11 maybe. There is not much splitting them up. Like if I would have ranked Kyren Williams at 6 and kind of flipped it, it's actually not too far off from my rankings. It's really, it's weird. It's unusual here for this year, but we know it's pretty deep, and teams will get some good backs, all about fit and where they land, and that really will change things, obviously. But that'll do it for the running back rankings. Quarterback rankings are up, have the top 10 there. We'll get to the receivers next, and the rest of them will come out over the next week or so, of course, and we'll have other draft videos, of course, constantly. Got you covered here and on our Twitter. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.